welcome back to the Aura podcast. Uh, we had a special guest with us today, Yahaya. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You just spoke to me before we started about, today, it's your day off. How are you doing these days?
I've been good. The weather has been all over the place, and so I've been all over the place. But I can't complain. I'm staying at home today, so I
Mm,
get to rest. I still woke up the same time I wake up when I'm having work because of like just routine. But I had breakfast and stuff, so I've been hanging in here. I've been hanging in here. How are you doing?
good, I'm good. Wait, you said you had breakfast?
I had breakfast. I'm trying.
Do you usually have breakfast every morning?
No, I don't. I have breakfast in I have breakfast in work while I'm at my desk. I won't say I have a large meal. I just have like a coffee and a bagel. That's like my go-to. I have like a
Uh,
pack of four cheese bagel, a lot of them. So I
oh, the
just take
fortress
one
is
with
pretty good.
me.
I like that.
Yeah, and
Do you
add some
believe
butter in it.
do you believe breakfast is the most important meal of the day?
I think it's very important. I think it's very important because if I don't have breakfast, it's like I'm very hungry and I'm just looking forward to the next break and I'm not working like I'm supposed to work. I'm just working, hoping like break comes. So it probably is. It probably is. I have my dinner very late as well. So dinner is probably most important.
Well, I think a dinner is kind of is different everywhere. Like in terms of just culturally, I think
hmm
for Africans, dinner tends to be a
Yeah.
bit later than
Yeah.
usual.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I
noticed
mean,
that.
I'll have dinner by like 11, 12, sometimes the
Yeah.
1. I don't care.
there there was times where uh I would be cooking at the residence like
Yeah.
late, like 11. I'm like, and I would text you, I'm like, yo, I need this or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I come to your house and you're cooking too at
Oh
that.
yeah. I mean, it's just I don't know. It's just the way it is. It leads.
Oh, for sure. So for people who don't know, Yahaya used to be the president of the student union. He was very involved in the community. He laid the foundation for this podcast to get started. Tell us a bit about. We're gonna talk a bit about what you did at Algoma University, but also I just want to talk about what you're doing right now. You're doing your master's in Windsor?
So right now I'm at the University of Windsor and I'm doing my master's there in political science. And I was going to do either a research paper or an internship, but I got an internship. I got I got a nice offer from the city in like administration. So I'm
Mhm.
like, you know what, I will take that. And so right now I'm doing my master's there in Windsor and I should be done this December. Hopefully it's about a year and a half for the program.
Mhm.
If I was doing a thesis, probably 2 years. But yeah, I'm doing my master's now.
And what was it like getting that internship? Did it make it way easier for you to go to Winter and pursue that higher education?
Oh no, it was like I got my internship while I was here. So everyone is admitted into the general master's stream.
Hmm.
But then the internship is like selected. And so we all get like interviews if you apply, some of us. And then if you get an offer from, an organization that the university deems, you have to meet like certain criteria. So like, yeah, we would use this as your internship for your master's. If you don't get an internship, then you either write a research paper or you do a thesis if you have a certain amount of average. And so for me, I was like, I either want to do a thesis because that can help me like a PhD in the future if I want to after I take a break,
Hmm.
or I'd get an internship. And I spoke with like my professors. They spoke of the benefits of the internship and experiences. And so I was like, you know what? I want an internship with the city or I don't want anything else.
Hmm.
And but it was like a gamble, yeah, and the gamble paid off. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's how it is.
Well, no, that's interesting. You also obviously we're in the summertime, but school doesn't stop for you. But I think recently
Mhm.
you were in Toronto
Yeah, I was. I came to Toronto last week. Listen, I had to
for
chill.
what,
It
24 hours?
No, 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 not 24 hours. I was there for like the weekend. Yeah. I was there. I got there Friday night,
Hmm.
and no, Friday afternoon, and then I left Sunday night because I had to come back.
So you
But
were
I'm
there
like,
basically for 24 hours. You were there on Saturday, basically.
yeah, I was there on Saturday. I mean, I'm going back next week again, but it's just for a short time.
Ah,
So sometimes I just, need to. I'm done with classes now until like the internship, I have no more classes like ever again for my program. And so I have some flexibility. And I didn't have that throughout my master's. It was like when I had the master's, I was just like go and drinking coffee, and I became a coffee addict, if you put it
You never drank
plainly.
coffee? You weren't a coffee guy before?
I always drank tea. I don't know if you remember,
Yeah,
whenever I
yeah,
came to
yeah.
my house, I always drank tea. I never really drank coffee. But I
Mhm.
just needed something like something hard. I needed something harsh. So, because I wasn't sleeping, eh? But
Yeah.
then now I'm done with that. And so it's kind of a bit smoother sail from here on.
How do you take your coffee?
It depends on my mood. If it's flavored, I take it bland without sugar.
Whoa.
If it's not flavored, I add sugar to it, but I never add milk. I don't like adding milk in of those things
Oh
to
my
it.
God.
But
My coffee, 90% milk, 10%.
I'm gone.
Are you crazy? Yo, I do
Yeah.
not want to see no black in that. No black.
Oh, oh no, I like it. I like to taste the coffee because like if I'm taking coffee, it means I'm trying to stay awake. And
Hmm.
so I need something strong. I need something with it's bitter. I hate it.
Hmm.
But I'm like, I need
Also,
it.
you don't really drink coffee for taste. It's not really.
No, no, I don't drink it for taste. Like why I was drinking tea for taste. I liked tea for taste. For
Mhm.
coffee, it's more of like I need to stay awake. I need to read. I need to like walk and stuff, you know. In work, I drink coffee so much. It's like ridiculous. Like there is always a coffee in my cup, like at my desk. I don't know.
Mhm.
So yeah.
That's hilarious. Wait, so what is it like having a bit more free time? Because I have to assume, like, even though you said like in your master's you were really busy, also
Hmm.
your university undergrad, you're very busy as well. So I don't think you've ever had in the past five,
Yeah.
whatever years, you never really had time to be like, oh,
Yeah.
relax a bit.
I mean, to be honest, I think my first year, my second year, I did have some time
Hmm.
to relax. It was, and I mean, my second year was I was an RA, so I still had I was busy, but I wasn't the busiest. But it was like kind of entered my third year where I was also playing soccer as well, and then
Hmm.
having RA and having that, and then fourth year, you know, diversity rep, and then also again fifth year, and so it's been hectic, but the difference here with my masters is just like reading. Like I was just trying to read so much. Now I can come and not read as much and be fine, and it won't be hectic. But it's like man's trying to pass.
Hmm.
I'm like I want to have like a very good grade. So I'm like, you know what? My masters, I won't go back to writing, you know, my exams that I wrote last semester.
Hmm.
So I would just like putting everything down. And that was why it was hectic. I could choose to slack, but
Hmm.
it's nice to have free time, to be honest. It's actually nice. When I read, I still read a lot, but I read now for leisure. It's like I pick the books I want to read. I don't have to read about something I don't like reading.
Yeah, you don't have to read
So
like for class, like class books and whatever.
yeah.
Hmm.
But I mean, even with classes, yeah. So I wrote a couple of papers, and for that, whenever I wrote papers, I liked them because I picked topics that I was interested in, but
Hmm.
it was more so general reading. Like, let's say we have a topic next week, and we're talking about, you know, the history of Russia, and it's just an area I don't like.
Hmm.
You know, it was always boring. Sometimes I skipped it. Sometimes I skipped some. I'm like, you know what? I'll just read like the first two and the last two pages, and I would contribute in class with that
Hmm.
information. Don't do that. But
What
yeah.
tell me a bit about you coming to Algoma University. How did that come about?
I mean, I was in Hamilton and I had different universities,
Mm.
but I don't, should we just say it was just fate that I picked Algoma. Algoma
Hmm.
was the last one I got. I got them last minute. And
Hmm.
before that, I had York, I had Ottawa, and I was like, oh, maybe I might go here, maybe I might go here. But it just seemed different.
Hmm.
It seemed like an environment I hadn't been to before. And so I came there. Funny story, Momo, some may not know him, but he was right beside me in the bus on the way to Algoma.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, and as we were leaving Toronto and just being covered by trees, we became confused. And I'm like, yo, what the heck is happening? Like, why, what's this? And then there were some Amish people at the bus. And for me coming from Nigeria and still being fresh, I had never seen an Amish person in my life. I knew nothing about them. And so
Mm-hmm.
when I first saw them in the bus and, dressed almost in like, 16th century, like kind of robe and stuff, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And
Mm-hmm.
then when the bus stops for them to come down in like middle of nowhere to me, because it's black,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, Momo, we're going to die. I'm like, we're going to die.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting. I actually always appreciate the fact I came to Algoma University. Like, it's a small university, but you really get a chance to grow. You get a chance to get experiences. You get to meet people, make connections,
Mm-hmm.
and I will actually do it again if it was my undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did I even
So
answer your question? I don't know.
I don't know either. But when you got originally here, your experience because Hamilton's also cold, but I think Algoma's different because it's not really the
Yeah.
cold that's crazy. It's the snow. There's a lot
Yeah.
more snow, and the snow
Yeah.
doesn't get removed like it gets removed in Hamilton or Toronto. So what was that? What was
Yeah.
that like?
I mean, I was telling some of my coworkers like early in the week, I was like, when I was coming to Canada, I was looking forward to snow. I'm like, now I hate snow. and, and I think it was just because of like the amount of snow in the zoo was unrealistic. I was like,
Hmm.
why is there so much snow? And so for me it was a culture shock, yeah. I
Yeah.
spent the winter in Hamilton because I came like a February time. So I saw a bit of snow because that's like the cold month and stuff.
Hmm.
But it was never anything crazy. Yeah. It wasn't like even above my ankle really. It was just like someone sprinkled salt and stuff around. But when I came here, I was like, yeah, this is like a mountain of snow. I can climb this and fall down and die. Like that
It's
one behind
endless.
Rez. Yeah, like that one behind Rez. Sometimes I think I'm like, I want to climb this, but I'm like, well, what if I fall down in the middle and then I
Hmm.
freeze? So it was new. It was a shock to me. But
Hmm.
there's no snow in Windsor, so I'm happy with the weather.
There's no snow in Windsor. Does it
Like
snow that much?
not a lot. I don't even know why I had winter boots. I can do without winter boots here. Like it doesn't
Wow,
snow that much. Yeah,
that's
it's very
interesting.
little.
That's interesting. Do you have to, from where you live, do you have to walk a lot?
No, not really. In fact, similar to the zoo, I kind of live right beside campus. In
Yeah.
this, I lived on campus, but here I basically live on campus because of like the car park is right beside my house. I had a class, and sometimes I leave my house like 5 minutes before class starts, and I'll get there like 2 minutes early, and
Hmm.
so that's like a 3 minute walk. Not to even mention things like having to check in and the whole line and stuff. So I live right beside campus, and for the most part of my time here, that's been where I've been going to because of school. Whenever I do have to go out with my friends, we either catch a ride or we use a bus or something like that. So I don't really walk so much here, but I go for a walk to like just the river, just like leisure activity, like how we had the park.
Oh,
Um,
is the river the one that's right next to Detroit?
Detroit, yeah, it's
Oh,
it's
that's a
right.
that's a beautiful walk.
Yeah. Oh, it's very nice. It's right beside me. I went there yesterday night in pajamas.
Yeah, no,
It's
that is a
it's
beautiful walk. I remember the first when I was in high school, we went to a soccer
yeah,
tournament in Windsor,
yeah,
and I remember like one of the first places we stopped was that boardwalk, and we were just
yeah,
walking. We're like, yo, this is beautiful.
yeah. It's very nice. It's very nice. Lots of geese though, and they're aggressive. So
Wait, why did you decide to get involved more into the Algoma University community? Because you could always just be a student.
Mhm.
It's already a lot of work to be a student, but you decided to go that extra step, get involved in ASU. What went
Yeah.
into that decision?
I mean, I think a lot of like a student's path is linked to like who they meet and their connections. And so for me, I knew Gilbert first year. I knew Karen a little bit. I knew Pauline. I knew other people, and I mean, I came in the same with Pauline, and I knew Rose and the rest. And they were like, you know what, you should probably think of applying to be an RA. And I think that's where everything started. Like I applied to be an RA. I'm like, why? Why? I didn't want to. I
Hmm.
think I applied like I think it was the last day. I
Hmm.
think it was the last day, and so I applied. I got in, And that was the step. Like I wasn't really applying because I wanted to be like deeply involved
Mhm.
as I began. I was just like, you know what, I can probably become involved in residence and see what that's like and, you know, get some experiences. And so I'll probably give Gilbert for giving me the initial start. And then from being an RA, I was always going around and just kind of involved with like, you know, if you help people, support them and stuff. And then Karen picked up on that. So sometimes they'd have some events and they'd be like, oh, you should come and volunteer. And I'm like, yeah, I'll probably come. And so I did that. And so I began to meet some people around the university, not so much. And then it was like my second year. And I think Pauline ran for a position the first year.
Mhm.
I think it was VP she ran for. And so she was like, oh, you should think of becoming involved with also as well. You know, you might like it. I'm like, yeah, I'll probably think about that some other time. So I
Mhm.
didn't. But I think the second year I played ball with, that's my second year, my third year. I'm losing track of my brain. But I think it was my third, no, it was my fourth year I was a distant. My third year I just did myself. I volunteered at the lab in biology because I was doing something with cell microbiology for like my potential thesis and stuff. And I got to meet people in like just the academic side as well. And then I ran for the diversity rep, and that was like the first step into also.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I like this. I could probably, you know, do more of this and try to, you know, kind of begin to get ideas of things you'd want to see,
Mhm.
talk more with students, kind of connect. And I think as I began to connect more with students, I also began to get a desire to want to change how things go. Part of it may just have been also interest. It was like around that third year, I gained a lot of interest in just operations and politics and just what shall I say, how things work in
Mhm.
society. And so also was a good bridge to understanding some aspect of that, even if it's just in academic setting, but that you know, that's something. And so I did that. And
Mhm.
then my fifth year I ran for president. And so that was how it went.
Yeah, well, tell me about that presidential run. What was that like?
Oh my,
What
oh
was that?
my.
What was that campaigning like? It looked stressful.
The campaign was crazy. I mean, I told my friends, people were like, you know, we trust you, you're going to win. I'm like, that's what everyone says, yeah.
Of
It's like
course.
if you live around 30 people at the university and there are, you know, over 1,000 students, and they tell you that, oh, you're going to win, everyone's going to vote for you, and it gets into your head. It's
Mhm.
like, well, are you the only ones voting?
Exactly.
You know, if it was like it's just 30 of you voting, that's fine. But um, I ran against two other people. I've forgotten the Indian guy's name. I think it was Deep, something like that.
Mhm.
And then the other guy's name was Samuel. And they gave me a run for my money. I
100%.
was I was worried that so Sam was my friend, and we had similar social, should I call them networks, or like people who are near work, people he knew.
Yeah.
And I thought like that would split my vote.
Yeah, no,
I'm like,
100%.
what if someone says like, oh yeah, you're going to win, so I'm just going to vote for someone else because I trust you, and I'm like, don't play with me.
Mhm.
And and so I was, you know, very cautious about that. But I was also very cautious that the other guy I was running could mobilize a huge part of the population from where he was from to vote
Mhm.
for him as well.
Mhm.
And so
I think
I'm like, oh,
he was a Brampton student too.
no, he was actually here in the show. I met him. He was here in the show.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so it was like I had to get a team. Like we made like not just posters, like almost like a booklet, if we
Yeah.
call it that. And we had it in like different languages. So I'd go to
Wow.
students. I'm like, oh, you know, where are you from? Oh, if you're from India, you're from China. I'm like, here's my poster in this language.
Oh my
And
goodness. You were
yeah.
thorough.
Oh, I had to be in because, you know, it was like I can know all the stuff. I can know a lot of the students, but it's if they don't vote for you, then you don't win.
Yeah.
If they are too confident that you will win, then you likely won't win. If you are too confident that you will win, you likely would slack. And so
Mhm.
it's like hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So I'm like, crap, I'm going to work hard and try to get the vote. So it was interesting. I always live to, cherish that moment. If I said I wasn't scared of the line, listen, my heart was beating.
Because how long
I'm like,
did it take for the results to come out?
I think it came out like the following day.
Yeah, and then
Yeah, it came out
tell
like
me
11.
the vote margins.
Oh my goodness. I think it was like around 8. I
Yeah,
think
it was
no,
single digits. It was definitely single digits.
yeah, it was very small. I was like, listen, I was talking with Thais. Thais
Yeah.
helped me mobilize a lot of the people in varsity, and
Mhm.
she played basketball. I'm like, listen, I think if you didn't get some people, it just takes like 6 or something people to be like, nah, Yahaya is going to win. It's
Mhm.
fine. We don't need to vote. And then, I lose the election. So it was very small. That day, the elections came out, the results. I got the news, I think it was like in the morning because the candidates can hear
Mhm.
before it goes out. It's part of the policy, or
Mhm.
you can wait to hear it finally. And
Mhm.
so when the result came out, I got a message from the COO. I think the COO, that's the name. And then they were like, we've done counting the elections. Do you want to hear the result before it officially goes out? I'm like, no.
Yeah, wow. Oh my God, that's so
Oh,
stressful.
I am like, no, I am just going to wait and say to, to everybody else. I do not want to be in panic mode or any of those things. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I saw the news that day. I was happy. It was good news.
Mhm.
So yeah, I thank the student. Thank you, students.
Well, tell me a bit now that you got into the job.
Mm.
What was that experience like? Was it not necessarily overwhelming, but were you surprised with the amount of work that was needed to be successful in that role?
I was. Sometimes you'd think that you're prepared for something, but you're not prepared. But then as you go along the journey, you kind of become more prepared. You learn more hands-on. I had been involved with also, so it wasn't like also was fresh
Mm.
to me. But it's like you learn more about relationships with like external parties, with members of the community, with staffs, with the city, with other universities, with CFS, how to manage all of a lot of it was management, to be honest.
Mhm.
Because when I was a president in my term, I tried to make sure we heard everyone's views, their opinions, we allowed them to share it. Then we looked for a unified approach. So it wasn't like and not that others were authoritarian either to say, but some people may think that don't run away. My story is interesting.
Turning on the light.
I'm just joking. Some
Mhm.
people may think that when you're president, you just wake up, you decide, yeah, I'm going to use, Defense Act, Emergency Act. I'm going to use this and that. Like,
It's just an emergency.
I don't know. I call it Defense Act as well. You're going to use that, but it's not like that. It's like a lot of it is you working. At
Mhm.
least if you want to make a good impression, you working together with like other members in the community, because many things you would do, you would decide, you would want to vote on it.
Yeah.
And if they are not confident in you or in what you've presented, because many times if it's a key thing, you would present it to the board as the president.
Mhm.
They may not vote in favor for it. So one of the major things I started when I began, I didn't start more so, but I had to do was, we had the pandemic. And so we're looking for the university set up this whole funding thing for the students for contributing to help students.
Mhm.
And so we're trying to look at how much we could contribute. And it was hard because we had to gauge how much they had gotten, how much they needed. I could just go to the board and be like, okay, the last people contributed this, let's contribute this. And just because students need us, we need them, this, and I just vote on it. But I was trying to be very, very qualitative, if that's the word, and
Right.
quantitative. I was like, these are the numbers, that's how much is needed, this is how the money is spent, this is what happens with any leftover funds, if there's any. I'm like, this is this and this is that. Then I also had to balance that with the university because there was a timeline on this. Yeah, it was like things were going to end in some time. And if the funding or whatever closed, then we can't contribute as well, or we'll kind of look irresponsible. I was like, to be honest, we don't know how long this thing is going to last. At that point, where people were saying, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And so I told the board, I was like, you know what, when we are making our donations, we need to make sure that we are not putting all our eggs in a basket. So it's like
Mhm.
we can just boom, keep everything. But what if this thing extends and we need to make more contributions to students till September, till
Mhm.
even December? And so, and then I had to make sure that I had shown the members of the board that I was reliable.
Mhm.
And so that if I ever had to bring forward a vote for something for us to decide on, they wouldn't doubt and be like, well, last time you just did this and you just made us vote with our emotions. And so now we won't vote.
Mhm.
And so it was a lot of learning experience. And oh my goodness, what can I say? Even like the VPs, yeah, the VPs work hard as
Mhm.
well. But it's also like a lot of management. I have to work with them while they work hard,
Yeah.
manage the stress that they deal with, and help them to kind of support them at the same
Well,
time.
you have a friend that just became a VP, Kennedy.
No way. Kennedy became a VP.
Oh, actually, no, no, no. Sorry,
No.
he's a residence counselor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The shock on your face.
No, I was because I saw his thing. I was like, no, VP, like I say something last minute. But Tim was VP before, yeah, and
Mhm.
became president. Same thing with Rebecca as well. When Rebecca took over after I left, was like VPs work a lot. And but at that point, like my board, I wouldn't say I was hard or I was harsh, but I was like, listen, guys, we're in like a different year. Like
Mhm.
we've had the pandemic hit us, and we will we will work hard. We will do our best to make sure that students are not adversely impacted, but we're still able to get things done. And so both VPs worked very hard on my support system. Same thing with Jeanette back then as the ED. The whole board, to be honest, the whole board worked very hard. So
I
I
have
think the
to,
biggest eye opener to me was
I have to
sorry.
ask, do you have, I have to ask, do you have over your years as that year as president, do you have like a project you're the most proud of?
Uh I don't I want to have one. I want to I think the BLM one was a big one. The
Let's
BLM
talk
one
about
was
that. Let's talk
the
about it. Tell
BLM
me
one
about
was a
it.
big one. And people may just say it as okay, we just came together, not came together, but like people cars just drove, pum pum pum, go to the car park, we had a speech and we left. But I tell people I'm like that week was probably one of the most stressful weeks in my life. Like I legit was not sleeping
Mhm.
because you have to look at it through this lens. It's middle of summer, pandemic restrictions are there, the COVID thingy is still fresh. People don't really have an idea of how dangerous it is, and it's spreading. It's spiking. Numbers are going up in Ontario, and but at the same time, there is this massive outroar against like racism that's happening. Members of the community are overwhelmed and they want to have a voice. Same thing with the students. We as the student union, we kind of represent the voice of the student as well, not just
Mhm.
our voice. But then we have to balance this with like potential issues of what could happen if things go wrong, if there is a spike, if the protest takes a U-turn and things get crazy.
Mhm.
And we are trying to do this while working with external parties to convince them that we, students, are able to take on this crazy risk-filled project
Yeah.
within a very short time. It was like a very, very short time. In fact, when I say week, it was like most of the planning happened within 3 to 4 days. It was like 3 to 4 days of like 3 to 4 hours of sleep. The last day I couldn't even sleep at
Oh,
all.
God.
And so we don't own any land. We don't own anything as a union. And the union is separate from the university in terms of like functionality. And
Mhm.
so we have to work and talk and act with the university on them being able to trust us to have this event on campus. We
Yeah.
can't have it off campus. We can't use a public or private, parking lot because of if things get crazy, like it's very complex to use that. At the same time, we've seen how many protests have gone around, in places. If we began the protest, so like one of the things we thought of was like, well, if we start off the protest and things take a U-turn, either it becomes too large and cases rise, it would most likely come back. Algoma University student union, and in most of those things, it was like I had my I had my signature in it as well. And so I'm like, okay, crap. I mean, it's not me, it's technically the board. But as well, I'm telling everyone, I'm like, okay, we have to protect our reputation while we're doing everything and try to show, we can do things right.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to work with the university and talk with them and be like, we can take this on. But then we also had to, outside of that cases, there was the problem of if the protest became too rowdy and things got out of hand. What if someone threw a stone and they broke a glass, and then next thing crack glasses start like breaking, and
Mm-hmm.
stone things to death? It will also come back to us. But we didn't want to do something and it's just like 4 people that shows up, because then it's a defeat.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was part of it. And we worked with, it wasn't like it was just us, yeah, we had to work with the city. Not really work with them, but we had to talk with them. We had to let them know what was going on. We had to ensure that we had the safety equipment like the paramedics, the first responders, in case if things took a U-turn. Even getting their support was already difficult, because they're like, there's a lot of risk in this, the cases. We're a smaller city. There's already like drug problems in the zoo. What if some of those people come and let loose as well? And so then we had to work with like just the university and bounce all of that across. But we also had influence from like external places, yeah. So we had lots of students, former students, present students, who were like, they feel like we have to do something as well as the university. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, as the student union, voice of the students. And so we had to respond to all of those things and also work with members of SASA. SASA helped us a lot. We worked very closely with them because they have a lot of negotiation power, if we call it that, being indigenous. And so we're like, okay, and we're building a working relationship. And so we had to work on that. At a point during the protest, I don't know if you were there, if you remember, but while we were there at the car park, after we had gone around and were having a talk, I remember I was at the back and someone came to tell me. I was right beside I was with Asman, I think it was Dave. And they were like, well, there was another protest that was happening downtown. And they said,
Really? I didn't know
yeah.
that.
And then they said that they were marching to campus. And so it's like, well, we've had ours, or, hundreds of people,
Mm-hmm.
another one that's coming to join us. And I'm
Wow.
like, okay, crap. Like, okay, this is interesting.
Interesting developments we have here.
Exactly. And it was like during the protest, we had worked to have masks, have hand sanitizers, have gloves. Everything was free. Jeanette did a lot of work for us during that time. She found a local charity who was willing to help us and support. I think, I've forgotten what they were called, something sisters or women, something ladies, I don't know. And they helped us. But then when these people came, you can't panic during that kind of time. You don't want people to think you're panicking, but you also need to have a calm mind. As soon as they joined, I saw them turn from that Queen Street. So I went to the front and I took the mic unscripted and I gave a wonderful speech. I don't know what the heck I said, but I can say it was unscripted.
Your
But I
I
was
have
just,
a dream.
yeah, go away. I didn't have no dream. I was wide awake. I was basically telling them like, there's been many protests happening. There's been many, and many of them have taken a U-turn basically. And many times it comes back to us in the community, which is true. If many of the protests turn aggressive, it becomes a point for people to use against, us,
The
like
issue.
the blacks who are
Mm-hmm.
basically fighting against racism. And so I was like, so when you're here, you have to make sure you do everything peacefully. You have to make sure you follow the signs. Part of the organizing the whole protest, I was like, I don't want this to just be nothing. I don't want us to just gather, shout, make noise, let off steam, and then leave. It was like, well, no. So we had like speakers. We had people like Dave, Tenny, Emma, people from like different communities
Mm-hmm.
share their experience, teach. because the part of it is to raise awareness, but to also educate. If you do one without the other, then something is lacking. If you educate and you don't raise awareness, then you're only like teaching like a few people. If you raise awareness and you don't educate, you're raising awareness, but it's not going to last. People's memory is very faint, so you have to make it have an impact.
Mhm.
So we had to work around all of that, and just talking with the news, all of those. Oh my God.
What's interesting is that I remember I wasn't there because I
Yeah,
was back home, but I
yeah,
remember seeing it online, and I was just thinking
yeah,
about this has to be the first time a protest like this has happened in that city, like this
yeah,
specific type of protest. I think that's what amazed me the most because I'm like,
yeah,
I never would think that you could get the city to come and walk, especially about
yeah,
an issue revolving around Black people. I honestly, I did
yeah,
not think that would be possible. I think that's what amazed me the most about you and your team
yeah,
getting this together. I'm just like,
yeah.
this is a never before seen.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. I mean, you had I remember Ali. Ali was a staff member,
Mhm.
but she helped us a lot with like connections as well from the city. Her name, Ali person. You had Janet members from SASA, even people from So College as well helped us reach out to their
Mhm.
community. So it wasn't like a one man, like something like takes a team,
Yeah.
but it takes a lot of management, a lot of stress relief. When that thing was done, I was also happy, but I was more so happy a week after. Well, in our group chat after after a week, I think it was Jeanette that sent a message. It was like, "Hey everyone, it's been a week after our protest, and there's been no hike of cases." We're like, "Yes, now we
Nice.
can now we
Now you
can
can relax.
now we can relax." But
I have I have to ask you this as my one of my last questions.
mhm,
I'm curious as to what is it like to have laid the foundation to a lot of things within also in the university, and like
yeah.
now to be watching these things grow from the outside. I want
I
to know
mean,
what's that like?
it's very good. It's very motivating, but at the same time, it's I won't say it's what is expected, but it's what should be expected. So
Yeah.
it's like before my board, you had Pauline's board. They did a lot of work, a lot of changes. Then you had Savannah's board. I think even the podcast, part of it began with I think Savannah's board as well, and my board took on some part of it. I know for me, one of the things I pushed on it. This was like the end of my the last week, to be honest, of my tenure. But I was like, you know what, I would work till the last work till the last day. Was this UN Solutions Network SDG at the university? But it's
Oh
like,
yes, yes, yes,
yeah, it's
yes.
like
I spoke to a
that.
CEO. She told me that she's like, man, Yahaya, man,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
really got
that one
yourself together.
was. I was like, yeah, if even if I don't do anything, I know I've done other things, but I'm like, you know what, I'll try to add this as well. But I just hope it continues, like as every other president and board comes on, that they build on what previous boards have done,
Mhm.
and everyone leads in their own way. It's like the way I led is different from how Savannah led and how Pauline led and how Rebecca led and probably than how Tim would lead. We all have our unique different ways of leading, but I think the most important thing is, do we consult with the students? Do we talk with the students? A lot of the things we did was those surveys we sent out to the students. This was Shadon who worked with communications. Shadon was wonderful
Mhm.
working with, communication, like reach out with like the pandemic, just hear what the students have to say, send surveys to them,
Mhm.
and just talk with them and stuff. So
The I wanted to ask
yeah,
actually, when do you plan on visiting?
probably thinking of sometime this summer. I mean,
Mm.
I told some of my friends I was going to come this summer. So, I'm trying to have this next week be done with, and then I can begin to think about, my plans. So
Mhm.
let's see. Let's
All
see.
right. Oh, and last thing, actually, so the last thing. If you have a
Are you sure?
show or a book to recommend or a movie, two
Oh my
things,
goodness.
two items. I just want to hear what do you have to recommend for the people?
A movie. I watched this. This is an old movie. It's not new, but I like going back to classics sometimes. And it's called Kingdom of Heaven. It's very, very old. It's about this whole thing. I won't say it's crusade, but it's about what was happening in Jerusalem. But it's a very nice action movie, but also like a nice story as well attached to it. And I think if you like classics, you will like that. For books, I've only been reading political books. I've only read
We
political
don't want
books.
those. I'm joking.
I know. I know. So, but there was a book I got, and I read it a while back. It's about leadership, and it's called The Dichotomy of Leadership. And it's very nice. It talks about get the book if you write the book.
Okay. Well, everybody, you've heard his recommendations. Let us know if any of them are good. If you
they're all good. They're all good. You guys know they're all good.
But so yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming on the Aura podcast, and I can't wait, to have you back on whenever.
And thank you for having me. And thank you, everyone.